So hello, everyone. My name is Malati. You can call me Mal, as some people here call me, MC, or just Hey You. I'll answer by all those names. So today's presentation is cardamom. So show of hands, how many people have heard of cardamom, seen cardamom, used cardamom? Okay, quite a few people. All right, so not an unfamiliar spice. So when I picked cardamom, I said, okay, what's my first memory of cardamom, right? Where am I reaching for cardamom? And then I find this Altoid box. Don't know if you can see it. It actually does not have Altoids. This is always by my laptop. And the Altoid box has actually cardamom and a bunch of cloves in it. And this, my dear friends, is my mouth freshener. I don't chew on gum and I don't use mouth fresheners, the liquid ones. I have grown up using cloves and cardamom to freshen my breath. And to this day, this is what I carry around. This is what I carry in my travel bag, in my backpack for nausea when I am not the driver and I'm driving on, somebody else is driving me on windy, mountainous terrain, or when there is too much of motion in the car and I feel car sick. So this is where my first, thought of cardamom goes. I never step out of the house without cloves and cardamom in my bag. So pretty close relationship to cardamom. So those are cardamom cloves. And we'll go down to the next one. So this is a herb box, spice box, with a whole bunch of spices. I'm sure you can identify quite a few of them. There's cardamom. This is the green cardamom occupying a large space with a black cardamom next to it. We'll talk a little more about that. Of course, this is star anise. This is, of course, cinnamon bark. And there is my other favorite, my cloves. And of course, this is nutmeg. And this is the mace, which is the outer covering of the nutmeg. So cardamom, they have found ancient Ayurvedic texts which talk about cardamom, and it was called ila in Sanskrit. And even today, in many Indian languages, cardamom is referred to as ilaichi, which is an extension of that short form of ila, Sanskrit, which is one of the world's oldest languages. So we think that it may have originated in India. However, it's now grown all over the world. Guatemala, as I researched, I found is one of the top producers of cardamom now. Of course, it's grown in other tropical regions like Vietnam. I saw cardamom plants in Costa Rica, and several African countries are now growing cardamom. So it's gaining popularity. It's also eaten worldwide. And I was pretty surprised to know that Nordic kitchens use cardamom in several of their recipes. So that was pretty interesting that from the tropics, this spice has traveled all the way to cold countries. So the cardamom, as you can see here, is encased, the seeds are inside, and the outer shell is hard. You crack open the outer shell, and then the seeds are triangular in cross-section, and they are very spindly. And I have my little bottle of cardamom here, and I can very easily split them on Zoom, it's very hard to see, but the seeds are black in color, and they are kind of in a little triangular cross section. And there are 3 triangles here. They all are sitting in like a conical shape, and then you can separate out the seeds. This is where Zoom really doesn't work well. I wish you guys were, here in person, but many of you have seen cardamom, so that is how it looks. The smell. I'm taking my bottle of cardamom and I'm smelling it, and it is heavenly. I just love the smell. I could just bury my nose in this and smell it all day. So it's an herbal warmth, and I picked this up from someone who is poetic, I think. It says herbal warmth, like fragrant cross between eucalyptus, mint, and pepper, more citrusy than fennel and sweeter than cumin. Wow. Someone who is a spice aficionado. I don't smell eucalyptus in it. Unmute yourself. Feel free to unmute yourself and tell me what you think the smell is like.
I can definitely smell when I use it for myself. I definitely smell the fennel. I smell the cinnamon. Actually, it's my go-to when I'm doing tea, or if I need to do something a little bit more potent than just cinnamon. Cardamom is my go-to, and I can definitely get the spice that's in it. I love it.
Yeah, Lisa, I agree with you. I agree.
I think a little more woodsy than a clove. I don't know how to describe woodsy, but I mean, cardamom has that special fragrance and that special taste that nothing else has.
It is so unique.
Yeah, it's pretty heady too. And also just remember, as with any spice, the longer you keep it, the less potent it is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a given with most spices. And also, we also know as herbalists that whole spices preserved keep their smell and their taste far longer than if they are actually powdered. So all my spices are normally whole. And when the recipe calls for it, I will quickly grind it at that point. I have never preserved ground spices because they do lose their energy, so to speak. So, surprising. Green cardamom is one of the most expensive spices by weight. I thought saffron took the cake, but when you remove the outer shell of the cardamom and you take only the seeds are very expensive. We buy whole cardamom, so then, it doesn't seem all that expensive, but they are one of the most expensive spices that are available. And of course, I just talked about this, best stored in the pod because the ground ones lose their flavor. So the outer shell is not very appetizing. It is the inner seeds that actually have the biggest bang for the buck. So talking about grinding, I have 2 devices that I use for grinding. So this is a mortar and pestle, which is made of brass or bronze. I believe it is brass. And this is very popular in the southern part of India. All our spices are ground in this. So it's kind of small. Mine is small. You basically put it here. I would put my cardamom pods here, and I would give it a little bang, and then the outer shell cracks, and then I remove the outer shell and then use the seeds. And this is what is primarily used in the northern part of India. It is made of marble, and northern India uses marble to grind their spices. So I have both. So whatever the mood dictates is what I use. So for recipes requiring whole cardamom pods, I have really never used, well, I have used whole cardamom pods in rice recipes, especially biryani. They say 10 pods equals 1.5 teaspoons of ground cardamom. So if there's anyone here that I don't cook with precise measurements, although I have a recipe website, only when I post recipes on my website is when I actually am measuring. Otherwise, when I'm cooking for my family, I'm just throwing things in willy-nilly. So any questions here? And this is an interactive discussion, so feel free to mute yourself anytime and interrupt me. So moving on, a little more on cardamom. So there are two types of cardamoms. This is the green cardamom, the ones that I have here in my bottle. I ran out of black cardamom. They are also bleached white sometimes. And this is the most popular one. And you can use this in desserts, and you can also use it in savory dishes. You can find this in most grocery stores. Even Sprouts carries them. Very, very flavorful. The black cardamom, this is the larger cardamom. This is not used in many cuisines except in the Indian subcontinent. These are large pods, and they have a much thicker outer shell. The smell is not as fragrant, and they taste very, very bitter. I mean, you kind of crumple your face when you put this in your mouth. So not very popular around the world, but you can find them in South Asian stores, and you would use it only in savory dishes. I would throw one in, say, 2 to 3 cups of rice because it's very strong. Whereas in 2 to 3 cups of rice, I would easily throw in about 6 to 8 whole cardamoms while cooking. So you kind of get the comparison on how strong the black cardamom is. As gardeners, we want to know how to grow cardamom. So this is part of the ginger family. And so they grow in clumps. And as we know, ginger is a rhizome, which means cardamoms are also rhizomes. The flowers are extremely beautiful, as you can see here, very pretty flowers. Sometimes people just grow it for the flowers alone. And I have seen flowers in multiple colors. Cardamom is grown very extensively in southern part of India, especially in coffee plantations. Many coffee growers will grow other spices because these spices love to coexist with coffee, and coffee loves to coexist with other spices. Also, the pollinators that come for coffee also enjoy pollinating spices. Pepper is grown. Also, some of these plants love shade. Coffee loves shade. And anything, and as you know, shade-grown coffee is more expensive. It tastes better, and it is also much better for the environment because all these spices and things like coffee, they hog water. And so when you have shade, you use less water, and that's why it's environmentally friendly. Also, you have birds that come, is just, great for the environment. After the flowers are pollinated, they're replaced by these hard shells. You can see those shells right here. Initially, they're green, and the pods are really thin. The seeds inside is where the spice comes from. But when you crush these fresh green pods, there's not much of fragrance in it. So a lot of people will pick these fresh pods and throw it in their cooking. And you can actually eat the tender green pods whole. They're pretty potent even as young fruits, but a lot of people eat them, especially if you are in and around these spice plantations. There are a lot of Airbnbs and homestays now where you can go and stay in these plantations. And when they cook for you, they do add these pods. You don't see them very much in the market because, of course, the money is in getting them to ripen, right? So you don't see that very often. Hardiness zones, unfortunately, is 10 and 11. So where would be 10? Would it be Houston or even more south?
More south.
More south. So South America, Mexico, perhaps. High temperatures, filtered sun, and humidity, and like I said, copious amounts of water. But if you have a greenhouse and you are adventurous, you can consider growing this herb. This is grown from seed. Usually you would buy the seed from the seeds that you get from the store. You don't know how long they have been sitting in the store. I try to buy them fresh, but still, if you were to grow this, you would go to an online supplier of seeds and you would buy the seeds from there. Patience is a virtue. It takes 3 years to produce these little guys here. And then it takes year 5 to really produce these green pods. So, of course, you have to deal with pests. You have to deal with ambient temperature in your greenhouse. So really, it is a challenge. And only if you are a seasoned gardener, you may want to try this. I have provided you a website. This is an excellent website where they tell you how to grow cardamom if you wish to grow them. Fun trivia. So the flowers are extremely beautiful. And if cardamom flowers are included in a bouquet, so it means you're my heart's desire. So this is, Valentine's Day is coming up. So if you can lay your hands on cardamom flowers, then it's you are sending out a message. Offering of cardamom pods says, okay, let's take this to the next base. And if those pods are returned to you, it means sorry, not sorry. So there's a language in our flowers and spices. So this is the language of cardamom. So these are the leaves of cardamom. They glow in the night. They have this very nice shiny texture to them. And if you look at the clumps here, they are pretty similar to ginger. If anyone has grown ginger, they just shoot out in these clumps, and then you can cut them at the rhizomes and you can transplant them just like ginger. So, any questions, comments?
I wish I could see it.
You just have to travel down south, Guatemala, not very far off, when the world opens up.
Mal, I just looked up, and the southern part of Miami and the islands off of Miami are zone 10.
Wow.
Just FYI, it's pretty far down there.
Okay. We have some hope. I've been to Miami, but I have never looked for. Actually, there's a very beautiful garden in Miami, a botanical garden. Maybe they will have it. When I went there, I was still not into herbs or not really into plants. So something to remember.
It's the Fairchild Gardens. We lived in Miami. It's wonderful. Everything grows in Miami, and things you don't want to grow.
Like?
Oh, just aggressive plants, because it rains every afternoon. It's it can be a very tropical climate, and we really didn't have a winter.
Yep, there you go, Miami. Maybe a field trip someday. So moving on, health benefits of cardamom. Ayurveda uses cardamom quite a bit. This is a cereal that I make at home every day. It's fresh cereal, and we use cardamom in it. So these are the triangular pods, if anyone is curious to see how the seeds look inside. It's an antioxidant. And oh, by the way, there are medications that are made using cardamom, along with a lot of other herbs and chemicals, of course, lab-generated chemicals. This may lower blood pressure because this is a diuretic. Both cardamoms reduce water retention. And so people with kidney problems may benefit upon the advice of a physician to consume small amounts of cardamom. It's impossible to ingest large amounts. It is pretty potent. So, even a little bit goes a long way in your food. Of course, you can chew on the seeds, which I often do. And when I started reading this, and I'm thinking, ooh, maybe I shouldn't chew on that many pods. And then I thought, okay, maybe this is why my blood pressure is low. Who knows, right? Again, this is all may, because the FDA has not approved any of this. So please take this with caution and precaution. Always consult your physician before you decide to use natural herbs to cure any illnesses. But that's my caveat. But I personally would always resort to natural means to help my body heal. May contain cancer-fighting compounds. Again, the use may protect against chronic diseases thanks to its anti-inflammatory effects. Digestive problems, gas, bloating, your gut microbiome. This is your second brain, as many of us know already. After a meal, cardamom is brewed into coffee and tea and taken after food to assist with digestion. I will chew on a cardamom pod after a meal. If I have kind of overindulged myself, I automatically reach for my Altoid box, and whatever comes to my hand, either a clove or cardamom or both, I'll chew on it. May treat bad breath and prevent cavities. This I can vouch for. Like I said, we always use this for bad breath and to just freshen up the mouth. And I believe the ancient Egyptians used it as well, which is really cool to read. So chewing cardamoms can help heal mouth ulcers and also to prevent gum disease. Antibacterial effects may help with infections. Black cardamom is prescribed for any respiratory issues like a cold or a cough. This black cardamom is also used in English medicines, in expectorants. So who knows, we may be ingesting cardamom in some of our on-the-shelf medications that are available in our local drugstores. So Cardamom Recipes, these are recipes from my website. You can see that I use cardamom pretty extensively, both in sweet and savory dishes and in drinks. This is a spiced mulled wine, and I've provided the link there. How many of you have had mulled wine?
Yum, yum.
Yeah, I just made it last week. It's delicious. And kombucha, which is a probiotic drink, also has, this is my husband and I toasting last year with kombucha. This is a biryani where cardamoms and cloves. Cardamom is in garam masala. If any one of you has used garam masala, which is a spice that is used in North Indian cuisine. So garam masala, and of course we use whole cardamom in our rice dishes. So this is savory, spicy, and this is a carrot dessert. We cook carrots in either dairy milk or a nut milk, and then we use cardamom. Cardamom seeds are powdered, freshly powdered, and added into it. And so a lot of recipes use cardamom. And if you're interested, you can go to my website and check it out. Outer shell. So this is my tea, my loose leaf tea, and see what I have there. I all discarded cardamom shells are going to my tea. So the next time I brew tea, I get I don't waste it, and then I will compost it. So basically nothing is wasted. The Turkish and Arabic coffees also have cardamom. They use the whole cardamom. Sometimes they'll use the shell. Sometimes they'll use the seeds. So pretty extensively used in hot beverages, cold beverages, alcoholic drinks, sweet and savory foods. And so this is my website. So let me go back. And then this is a beautiful drawing that I found on the internet. The flower, the green pods, and the dried one, and the roots, and the beautiful leaves. So I will open it up to questions. Thank you for being here, and thank you for listening. I'll stop the share so we can go back to the screens, and then we can chat about it.
So